Episode 8, some shit like that.
Give me 1 second. Just like fucking spilt water all over myself.
You spilled the water, bro.
Yeah, dude, I was trying to fucking hydrate. Fucking started drowning, dude. All right.
Bueno.
All right, now I'm live on Instagram. We are good. Episode 8, the power of knowledge. The power of knowledge.
What does that mean?
See, to me, the power of knowledge is accumulating knowledge and then being able to actually use that knowledge. Because I don't think that, I think we kind of talked about it yesterday, but I don't think that knowledge is not powerful unless it's used properly. Because it is useless until it's implemented and used. Because you could know how to solve all the world issues, but if you don't actually take actions and take steps to do that, then having that idea, having that theory, having that information in your head, it's not doing anything.
No, that makes sense. It's like you have the blueprint, but do you have the materials and the means to execute?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are we doing today?
So we're mainly just talking about knowledge, the understanding of knowledge as well as the knowledge that we have acquired. I have a stack of books right here that I'm kind of looking at. So we're going to go over like a bunch of the things that we've learned, the knowledge that we've learned and how we've acquired it in order to be able to potentially help somebody that may be starting out and not knowing exactly where to start when they're trying to acquire the knowledge that they think is important, right? Because essentially knowledge is one of the most important things that you can have nowadays. We have access to all the knowledge and all of recorded human history at our fingertips, but it's a matter of how you obtain that knowledge and then how you use it that is really important.
You want to get us kicked off?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Just give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. What the heck? Okay, sorry. Sorry, I was trying to double check YouTube, make sure everything's good. But yeah, so as far as knowledge goes, I don't have the book here, but I have a stack of books right here that I think are all very important, at least to me in my development. Almost fucking dropped this, but I'll kind of go through this a little bit. So first off, I have like the first book that I started to read that really helped me shift in my understanding of things as far as going from a high schooler and just thinking like, okay, yeah, go to college, get a job, have a family, that kind of thing, into actually that entrepreneurial mindset. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always knew I wanted to do something great with my life, but I never knew exactly how to do that or what to do. So it's a book called Unlock It by Dan Lok. I don't know if anyone knows who Dan Lok is, but Dan Lok is essentially, he talks a lot about high ticket closing. And that's kind of where I started. I started to look on YouTube about all of the information on how to actually make money while I was still young, because I hadn't gone through college. I don't have those degrees that show me like, okay, yeah, I'm qualified for these jobs. How do I get a high level job where I'm actually being paid a substantial amount of money, right? So with that, I ended up going in and kind of understanding some of that. And then I tried high ticket closing. I mean, I didn't really go far with it, but getting into that allowed me to kind of think of it from a different perspective. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I like Dan Lok. I like what he talks about, and he knows what he's talking about. His story and everything that he's gone through is really amazing to see where he's at. So if anybody hasn't heard of Dan Lok, I'd highly suggest going to see what he's all about and what he talks about. He has a lot of good information. And essentially, Unlock It is like unlocking your mind and your mindset of money and how you think and how you actually execute on things. So it like kind of talks about his story, and then it also talks about how he was able to get to where he is now, and then also his framework for classifying yourself, where you are at currently and where you want to be, what your downfalls are so that you can get kind of past that, what it is that you're focused on currently and what it is that you need to be more focused on. It essentially is almost like a thought experiment where it helps you understand how to get to that next level, what it is that where you are at right now versus like the corporate structure, the day-to-day life and that kind of stuff, the normal life versus the entrepreneur kind of life and going after it and getting it. So reading that really allowed me to kind of understand the first little step of where money comes from, how money works, and how I can go after it, and like the mindset that comes along with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. What else is in that little stack?
In this stack, so I'm going to kind of go in order of the way I read it. So let's see. This is going to be last. So essentially, I have a lot of fitness books here too, because part of my journey and what I've done is really, really just focusing on my fitness and being able to elevate myself and my mindset through the grueling task of working out every day and doing things that are not easy, because they have to do things that are not easy to progress farther, right? So special operations fitness. So at one point I was actually trying to, I was training to go into pararescue in the Air Force. I was trying to go special operations. It didn't end up working out, but I was training really, really hard for about 6 months just to get into this. And this was like the Bible, man. This is everything that I did, everything in this book. This was during COVID. This book I read during COVID, and I went through everything in this book during COVID. That really, really helped me get to that next level in my fitness. And then recon prep. I also wanted to go into Marine recon. So I started to follow a lot of these books, and essentially what it is it's just workouts. It just shows you workouts and different things that you should be doing that the actual special operations and those elite people, like what they do. So it's like, for me, fitness is really, really important, you know, staying fit, keeping your health in order, because if you're not taking care of your health and yourself, then there's no way you're going to be able to take care of the business and other people. Strong
body's a strong mind.
Exactly. And then I would say Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. This is also like one of my Bibles. So if y'all don't understand the power of this book, who it's written by, and the story behind it, you really, really need to look into this. Marcus Aurelius is essentially considered the father of Stoicism. And what this is essentially his personal journal. So Marcus Aurelius, he was one of the greatest emperors of Rome at the peak. It's literally, he was at the peak of Rome. And this is him kind of talking to himself, trying to understand the world as he's getting older and his health is declining, trying to still maintain this great empire. It's very interesting, because this is just him talking to himself and writing to himself, essentially writing not soliloquies, but a form of it where he's just communicating and trying to understand his own mind. And this was actually never meant to be published, but it was. So I would highly suggest anyone trying to understand the mind of an emperor, the mind of a Stoic, and essentially just life lessons that you can learn from, I would highly suggest learning from this. And part of that allowed me to understand, and like, mindset is so important. That this next one is special operations mindset. But going back to Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, it's like it's like a mindset. It's a mindset that he has to where he is in control of his own mind and his own decisions and his own actions. But as things are going chaotic and things are like wars happening and different things are happening around him, as an emperor, he has to deal with all of that. But also the thing is, he can't let all of that define his decisions and the actions he takes, right? So with that, he essentially ends up going to the point where he is trying to understand how to make the best decisions for his empire and the people that he is taking care of, right? So with his understanding of the world, you can really try to understand your own world and the way that you do things and the life that you live. And I think that's super important, because if you don't understand your own mind and the things around you and the things that are affecting you, you won't be able to be a successful entrepreneur. Essentially, your mind, you are in control of your success, right? When you're an entrepreneur, your success is dependent on the effort that you put in. So if you are being limited by your own mind and your own actions based on outside effects, then there's no way you're going to succeed, because the stress starts building as you go higher and higher and higher. There's more risk that comes with it. It's not that there's more risk when you start or there's more risk as you go, but you have more to lose. You have way more to lose. So if you don't have the right mindset and you don't instill some kind of stoicism within yourself, then I strongly believe that business owners won't be business owners for very long. What do you think about that?
I think you and I talk about stoicism quite often. We do our best to instill stoic qualities in ourselves, and I mean, it's. I love comparing boxing and business so much. I do it all the time. I'm going to do it again. When you get punched in the face, that's kind of like when you figure out who you are. And if you're not the person who is able to get punched in the mouth and then punch back, business isn't for you. There will be people who are constantly trying to screw you over. There are people that are going to try to take advantage of you. There are people that are going to say they're going to do something and then they're just not going to follow through. And if you aren't able to maintain a level head on the roller coaster of emotions that you're going to feel as an entrepreneur, you're setting yourself up to fail. And one of my favorite books that kind of builds off of that is called Make Your Bed. It was written by a Navy SEAL. And the thing that he was trying to teach, it's a very short book. You can read it in like 3 hours. The point he's driving home is that the reason why you make your bed every single morning in the military, it's the first thing you do, is so that no matter how shitty of a day you have, no matter how hard the day is, you start your day with a completed task. You start your day with a task done correctly, right? So you're forming a habit, right? You're forming habits of no matter what happens in your day, you're going to start off with a win. Mm-hmm. As an entrepreneur, especially when you're first starting out, those wins are hard to come by. Because it's L after L, and L doesn't stand for loss; it stands for lesson in business, right? If you have that perspective of lesson, not loss, you're fine. But and I think that having the lesson versus loss mindset is a stoic mindset to have, right? So I make my bed, and then let's say 2 of my clients back out of a contract, and then one of my deals that I was supposed to close fall through. Well, at least when I go to bed, my bed's made.
No, that's fair.
You know what I mean? And when you make your bed, it's safe to say that if your bed's made, your room's going to be a little more organized, right? So it's decluttering your mind. You have to declutter your mind so you can have a total focus, right? Mm-hmm. And it kind of, I think that's why it's building off of what you said with a strong body. If you're disciplined with your body, if you have a routine workout that you're doing and you stick to it, you're disciplined. You are doing the same thing regardless of how you feel, right? So say you lose 2 clients and that deal falls through. Well, now you have a made bed and you're working out still, right? You're doing what you're supposed to do regardless of how you feel. And that's how you start forming stoic habits. Mm-hmm. Right? And then I do legitimately believe that it's a lot easier to be level-headed in stressful situations when your body looks great.
100%. It's like taking care of your body. It gives you more confidence, and that confidence carries over with what you do, right? Because if you're more confident in yourself and what you are able to do, when you're actually going and communicating with people, they can feel that confidence. They can actually interpret that and be able to then take that and then potentially be able to trust you more with that. Because if you aren't confident in what it is that you're selling to a person, people can pick up on that very, very easily. If you're not confident in how you present yourself and the way that you talk and the way that you shake somebody's hand even, you will not be given the respect that you may deserve but didn't present, right? Yeah. That also kind of ties into the next one. Everybody's favorite book, 48 Laws of Power.
No, we're not narcissists.
Nope, not sociopaths, but power. Power is essential. You have to understand how power works in order to become powerful. So with 48 Laws of Power, this really was allowed me to be able to step into that role as a CEO and a founder because I had the right mindset. I don't understand completely how power works, but I understand the basics. You have to understand the basics. You have to build a foundation to be able to then get more powerful and maintain and obtain that power, right? And the biggest thing with 48 Laws of Power is it frames it to where So Robert Greene writes very, very well. I love the way that he writes. He always uses historical context. And I love that because you are able to understand how people have used certain laws of power in the past, how they've been used against them, how they've been used for them, and how it actually they went too far with that law, and then essentially a bad outcome came through that. And being able to understand people's mistakes, people's successes, and being able to view it from that standpoint, you're able to then implement it into your own life. And I think that's very, very important. So if you haven't picked up this book and haven't read it yet, at least look up the 48 Laws of Power and just read the laws. You don't even have to read the entire law in the entire chapter. I think honestly, everybody should read this, but also I don't want you to read it. I don't want you to read it. This has some secrets that I don't want everyone to know. But
Fair.
Share the knowledge, man. Share the knowledge.
Have you ever read a book called Who Moved My Cheese?
Who Moved Your Cheese?
Who Moved My Cheese?
No.
You know what I'm talking about? So going back to the whole stoic thing, it's kind of talking like when you're an entrepreneur, you do your whole goal setting thing, right? I'm going to do this, 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 and this today. And in order for me to feel like I had a good day today, I need to get X, Y, and Z done. But as an entrepreneur, you know that you still have a life other than your business, no matter how much you want to tune out real life to focus on your business, which as entrepreneurs, we do, right? We don't tune out the work world, we tune out the real world. And unfortunately, the real world will sometimes do the real world thing and just make it to where you can't focus on your business and your goals get scattered. So the whole principle of Who Moved My Cheese is it is okay for your goals to change and priorities to change, right? So for example, let's say I have 5 meetings booked today and my car breaks down and I can't get to those meetings if I don't have a car. Well, the cheese moved today. That's kind of like what it's talking about. The cheese moved. Now my number one priority today is getting my car fixed so that I can start getting meetings booked again.
Yeah.
Right. Because if I don't have a car, I don't have meetings booked. And I can't get, if I have meetings booked, I can't get to the meetings. So number one priority today now is get my car fixed. And that's fine because problems will happen, things pop up. But what is not acceptable is for that to completely derail your mentality, derail your day. Oh, I had a shit day. I didn't get my car fixed. That's just life. Shit happens.
It happens, man.
Get over it. The cheese moved. Your goals are still there tomorrow. I'm sure that your business partners or your clients will understand if you legitimately had a reason to not show up to your meetings, reschedule. Do not allow that to derail your day and then put you in a strut. And that's all Who Moved My Cheese talks about are different ways that people think when the cheese moves.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because it's like small hiccups like that can really throw people off and completely just derail where they're at and what they're trying to do. But I think that's interesting because it's not always the one focus that you always have doesn't always mean that you're going to be focused on it 24/7. Your biggest goal doesn't mean you're going to be focused on it every single second of the day because shit happens and you got to take care of the immediate issues, like your living situation, where you're going to get food, that kind of thing too. If your car breaks down, you have to fix your car because you're not going anywhere, right? There's certain things that even when you're trying to, I feel like even at the point when people are successful and they're well established, I feel like even at that point, the cheese will be moving constantly.
Always.
There's so much stuff going on that they have to have multiple things happening at once. So the cheese is moving. Their focus is over here. Their focus is over there. Their focus up there, right?
And the cheese moving is fine. It's okay.
It's all right. And it can, like, I feel like for me, it really, things moving in a different direction. Like at some points, it was like I'd be doing one thing on one day and then another thing on another day. And it's like the cheese was constantly moving. And I was focused in all these different areas because it was just me and I was just servicing these clients by myself. So I had to do so many different things. I had to do the content. I had to do the outreach. I had to do pretty much the content, the contracts. I had to write the contracts. I had to, keep up relations with the clients and everything. It added up a lot. So every single day, the cheese would be moving from, okay, I need to do content now, to I need to do outreach now. I need to write these new contracts for the next meetings I'm going to have, right? So the cheese was constantly moving and my priorities were constantly moving, but it still was focused on the larger goal and where I was trying to head to. Yeah. Because sometimes the small goals where the cheese is actually and what you're trying to get after may be tied into the small decisions that you make that don't necessarily seem to have weight, right? So the things that may seem smaller, the things that may seem even large may not even matter as much as you put weight on it.
Yeah.
The large things may not even matter, and it may be the small things that really matter.
Yeah. I'm going to give you an example of this that happened in my real life when I was a pool guy. So I used to be a pool tech. I used to fix, clean, and build pools in Houston. And I had a Ranger, a very old Ranger. It had like 230,000 miles on it, and my engine blew up. I was cruising down West Park to get to River Oaks to clean Jim's mom's pool, and my motor blew up. Now, I had two choices. I could just wait and derail and be like, all right, cool, I'm going to wait until I can figure out when my truck is going to get fixed and freak out and be pissed off that I lost money, or I could figure out a way to get back on the road and do my fucking job. So what I did was I cleaned out of a fucking U-Haul for fucking 2 weeks. I went to U-Haul, I rented a U-Haul truck, and I fucking just moved my equipment, put it in the back of the truck, and then got back to work. Why? Because the cheese moved. And unfortunately, if I just sat there and waited for my truck to get out of the shop, I wouldn't have had a truck because it was totaled. And that would have been, not only did I lose 2 weeks of them evaluating the truck to tell me that it was totaled, I wouldn't have been able to make money. And then after that, I would have been like, oh shit, now I have to figure out a solution to get back on the road. I figured out a solution to get back on the road in 2 hours. I was back on the road in 2 hours doing my job.
Sir. You know,
right? And
like you just gotta,
I had 3 days to get 80 pools done.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, shit, at certain points, it's like, it's good to shift that focus, because that focus being shifted will allow you to focus on the things that really matter. And I think it's interesting. It makes you adapt and learn from the mistakes that you may have made that may have derailed you in a sense, but then it allows you to come back and be better.
Right. And then it's like the other thing too, is it's like my homeowners even notice, like, why are you in the U-Haul? You're having truck problems. Your homeowner, if you problem solve, like if your personal life is falling apart and you show up still and do your best at work, your clients are going to notice that. I showed up in a U-Haul for a month. My clients are like, when are you getting a truck? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I have a job to do. Do you know how your boy got hella Christmas tips that year?
Yes, sir.
We got hella tips. Why? Because I showed up even though my life was falling apart. I showed up for my client because why? They depend on me. They're counting on me. And I did not take advantage of that, right? I had every reason to just text my clients and been like, yo, look, I can't show up for a little bit. I just don't have a truck. I'm sorry. Until I get a new truck figured out, I'm not going to be able to show up. And I probably would have lost quite a few clients. Mm-hmm. But instead, we figured out the problem. We rented a U-Haul. Granted, I lost like $800 every single week because I was losing a U-Haul. But I guess what? Still had money coming in, so I still had a business.
Mm-hmm. Hey, now that's all that matters at the end of the day, right? Keep moving forward. Even if shit's fucking hitting the fan, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna run through these last books real quick, and then we'll probably wrap it up for today. I don't want to take too long, but Sun Tzu's Art of War, fantastic book. Have you read this? So this essentially is the mindset. Like I have a bunch of stuff that's highlighted in here, but this is essentially the mindset that I go off of.
It's
so it's like, this is the mindset that I approach when I go into pretty much anything, right? Business, negotiations, whether it be personal or it may be business. Everything is essentially pieces moving on the chessboard. Everything is strategy. Everything is negotiation. So what I say is I want to always have the cards in my favor. I always want the cards in my hand so I can play it to my best ability, so I'm able to reach that potential that I'm knowing I'm capable of. So let me read this real quick. When the general is weak and without authority, when his orders are not clear and distinct, when there are no fixed duties assigned to officers and men, the ranks are formed in a slovenly, haphazard manner and results in utter disorganization. And that essentially is, in this case, I am the leader. If I don't have an organized strategy and I'm not telling people that what I need to be done in the time it needs to be done and communicating that effectively, then things are going to start falling apart. And that is just one part of this book. And there's so much good information in this. I actually, so it's kind of going off, but so this is a story of when I read this. I was in New Zealand and Australia, right? And this is kind of when I was at the beginning of my entrepreneurial kind of journey, working with clients, more as a freelancer. And I read this book. And once I read this book in probably an afternoon. I was just kind of bored, I was partying all night, that kind of thing. And then I ended up actually sitting out on the beach one day, or on the pool deck one day, and I was like, you know what? I've had this book and I just need to fucking finish it. So I ended up reading it in a matter of a few hours because it was just that fucking good. Right after that, I started to write down a strategy, building out exactly the structure that I want to have for my business. I started to take notes on it. I started to try and analyze it. I analyzed every chapter in it to be able to understand how I can implement that into what I'm doing. As soon as I got back to America, once I came back to the US, I started to actually explore the possibilities of being able to use what's in this book. And that has allowed me to get to where I am now, because I was able to think of things in a strategic manner of how to approach things, how to actually approach the battle before it's even happened, right? How to set things up in the right way to be able to move and make the moves that are necessary to get to where I want to be. So if you are starting in business and you're trying to understand strategy and you're trying to understand your role as a leader, as well as how to command the people around you in a way to help everybody succeed together, this is the book you need to fucking read. Do it now. I promise you, you will not regret it.
Wars are won before battles are fought.
Yep. And sometimes you have to lose a battle to win the war, right? It's all strategy.
100%.
And then here, I'll go through these other ones. I'm gonna just do like quick. Well, this last one is a book that's really, really close to my heart. But so special operations mindset. I got this also while I was trying to train for special operations, because I wanted to understand like their mindset, how they think, how they operate, right? And reading through this book also made me understand what kind of leader I want to be. And I'm still trying to become a better leader every single day. I'm trying to be able to lead my teams and the people around me in a better way to allow us all to succeed together. And one of the things is this book has allowed me to understand who it is I want to be as far as leadership goes. I want to lead by example. I want to be fighting on the front lines with the people that I am essentially leading, right? I don't want to be somebody that takes the back seat while everybody is doing their other stuff. It's like, I want to be involved, and I want to make sure everybody understands what it is that we're trying to do. And understanding the mindset of these special operations guys allows me to perform at a higher level. It allows me to frame the way that I carry myself, frame the way that I'm thinking and the other things. Because a lot of these books are about mindset and the way that you structure yourself and structure the things that you're doing. So I think it's very important that people actually understand that it comes down to the programming that you have in your mind, right? Because we all have programming. We all have programming that comes along with being raised in our society through school or through parents. Absolutely. And through other, I'm sorry?
Absolutely.
And so with that programming, you can only do so much with that. Knowledge is power, right? But if you don't have, fuck that shit, bro. I fucking hate that.
Every day.
It's got to happen once. But essentially, it's like with that programming, there's only so much you can do with that if you aren't acquiring new knowledge.
Yeah.
And these kinds of books will allow you to reprogram yourself, reprogram your mind, understand discipline, understand leadership, understand how to be a good follower, because a good follower can also be a good leader, and a good leader is always a good follower. They understand how to follow, and they also understand how to lead. They know when to take a back seat, and they also know when to take control, right? And then the Way of the Wolf. Sales.
Yeah, boy.
Everything you need to know about sales and communicating and being able to do outreach. Not necessarily exactly how to do outreach, but cold calling. Being able to have talking to people, just the way you should be talking to people to sell them on your ideas and sell them on you and what you do. It's very, very important that you understand that if you are a business owner, because the number one thing that you are doing is you are selling people on the idea of your business, selling them on you to where they can trust you and understand what it is that you do, what role you play, and what you're asking from them, right? So if you're not able to do that in the right way, then there's no way you're going to close a deal. So, way of the wolf, baby.
Have you ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
No, I haven't actually. I know everyone talks about it, but
Such a good book. For those of you that don't know, so there's kind of like there's two phases in my opinion in business. There's the startup, how to create money, and then there's the how to keep / protect it. And those are two separate stages. And a point that Robert is really the author of the book is driving home is that everyone wants money. Everyone, that's why we all get jobs. That's why we have careers. That's why we start businesses. And then oftentimes the people we seek advice from are broke as shit. And it's called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's because a lot of times the people we get advice from are our parents. And a lot of people have broke fucking parents. And if you want to become wealthy, you're not going to become wealthy by listening to broke fucking people. You're not. And so sometimes you got to find a rich dad. And what that is a mentor who has the things you want, that is willing to teach you the things that you want, and how to get there, right? Because you and your dad have the same goal. You both want fucking money. The thing is, your dad was listening to what? Broke fucking people, and that's why your dad's broke. But if your dad was listening to people with the right information, as me and Aidan are trying to get y'all on the track of learning the right information so that you know what to do with it so that you can become successful, right? If you're going to bad people who don't have the tools or information you need, no shit, you're not getting the results you want. And then so what Robert is really doing is giving you ideas on where to find mentors, how to identify good versus bad information, so that then you can start to not only just take your financial literacy to the next level, but you can take your career to the next level so that you can get the correct information for whatever field you're trying to step into. If that be finance, if that be e-commerce, if that be marketing, if that be retail, whatever it may be, you need someone who's been there before to hold your hand a little bit, especially if you're young, because you don't know shit. I'm 23 and I don't know fucking anything. I'm talking a lot, so you assume I know some shit, but I don't know anything, and I'm still a student. I'm still learning.
Still learning.
Years old.
Always. Student of the world, right?
Exactly. Rich Dad Poor Dad. Read it.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah, I never knew it was about mentors. I thought it was about upbringing, and I like Rich Dad Poor Dad. How
a little bit of both.
Mindset. Okay, because I fit like what I heard, or at least what I understood, was that it was more about the mindset that you grew up with the people and how they treat money as you grow up, right? Because a rich dad is not going to stress as much financially as a poor dad.
Exactly. And then the point is, it's kind of like, and one of the point it really drives in is you're not going to get to where you want if you're taking advice from a poor dad.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's the poor dad mentality and the rich dad mentality, and it kind of helps you identify who's a poor dad and who's a rich dad. And then the rich dads are people you need to talk to. The poor dads are people you love.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. It's interesting because that programming, that's essentially part of the programming, like we were talking about. But
like, for example, it's like my dad. I love my dad so much, but he is not like he's 60 something still working. I don't know when he's not going to retire until I pay off his mortgage. You know what I mean? So it's like for me to go to him for business advice or how to start up a business or how to become financially independent, well, I can't learn from him because he hasn't done that thing that I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, and
and then for me to burden him with that, and for me to expect him to teach me that's unfair to my dad.
Yeah. It's a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
But going on to the next one, Good versus Evil, Frederick Nielsen.
I haven't read that one.
Good versus Evil? Or Beyond Good and Evil, sorry. Beyond Good and Evil. Morality. Understanding your morals, understanding what is good and what is evil, and the line in between, and if there even is a line, right? So this is a philosopher, Frederick Nielsen, and I love this book. I love this book because it explores the idea that we are the reason that we consider things good or evil. It's all about perspective. It's all about understanding. So it allows you to understand the world a little bit better and understand why things are the way they are, and then also make you question why things are the way they are. And I think questioning things is one of the most important things that we have to do to advance and innovate and make things better as the world progresses, right? Because, we talked about it, the morality of AI and different things about that, like technology, how things are advancing. We have to ask these questions before it's too late to ask questions. And that's why I love philosophy a lot, because It makes me and forces me to question my existence, everything, why things are the way that they are, how
Yep.
could things be better, and I think that's very, very important for anybody trying to innovate and become a creator, somebody that's trying to do something better and change the world, essentially. So I think everybody should read a little bit of philosophy, whether you believe in philosophy or not. I mean, it is up to you. Philosophy is essentially just the way we think.
Philosophy's sick.
Well, I love it.
Philosophy.
And then we're almost done. We got one more after this. Art of Seduction, Robert Greene. How to communicate with people, how to influence people.
That book will make you a narcissist.
This book, I love it. I suggest people to read it. It allows you to understand how important communication is, and what you say and how you say it and what you don't say, right? How powerful your words are and how you can actually influence people. This is very good for negotiation, as well as to just get people on your side and in your corner, really, right? Because some people don't understand how social interaction works on like a business level or a higher level, where people are essentially transactional. At a certain point, like in business, sometimes what you are doing and the people you're talking to is purely transactional, what you can offer them and what they can offer you. So being able to understand how to communicate with people on a level like that, and even not even just on a level like that, but have some kind of understanding of that, this will allow you to become an even better communicator than you already are. If you're not a good communicator, this will make you a better communicator, I promise.
100%.
And then another philosophy book, but it's a little bit different. It's not strictly philosophy. It's more of I don't know how to describe this book, because it's The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. And he essentially, this is his last leg of life. There's 3 books mixed in here. There is the Inferno, Paradiso, Purgatorio, and then Paradiso. So essentially, it's following Dante as his own character, walking through hell in order to get to heaven as a living soul. So he is not dead. He is essentially a mortal walking through hell, through purgatory to get to heaven. And essentially, it's his trials. It shows the trials, and every single chapter and every single word in this has some kind of symbolism and some understanding in the way that things are. And it's very, very close to my heart, because I love this book. This is like, I can't say how good this book is, because he died before he actually was able to finish this book. Before he was able to finish this. This is his last work. This might be his best work. I don't know. I haven't explored all of his other work, but this has changed the way that I see things. This has made me reflect on the world, reflect on the things around me, what I take for granted, and what it is that I should appreciate more, right? And part of this is, it is very much poetic. It's very poetic, and it really started to make me want to write more poetry and understanding. And writing for me is a very, very important part of my life, because I write to understand. I write to strategize. I write to understand my ideas, my thoughts, where I'm going, where I have been, and being able to understand things from that scope. And writing poetry and different things like that will allow you to kind of explore things that you haven't explored yet, in ways that you may not have explored yet, and will allow you to come up with new and better ideas and come back with a different perspective. Because everything else that I kind of showed you is more nonfiction, but this is more fiction. So this is more of a story, and I don't really read a lot of fiction, but this is fiction. And part of this has allowed me to get into the realm of creative writing. And getting into the realm of creative writing can also allow you to understand yourself, understand what it is you like, understand what it is you're doing. And like I said, being able to just come up with new and better ideas. So, I mean, it's a great book. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if this was the most entertaining broadcast, but
it will be more entertaining tomorrow.
Plenty of information has been shared.
Yeah, the people that actually watch this are the people that actually are serious. So
yep.
If you're this far, congratulations. We know you're for real.
Yeah, we know that you're actually about it and that you're actually trying to progress and get better. But yeah, I think that'll be pretty much it for today. Do you want to talk about anything else? Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of wrap it up with saying that every book that I talked about today is my personal preference and what I give credit to allowing me to become the person I am today. And do your due diligence, do your own research, and trying to understand this information. And like I said, you have to implement it. You have to implement what you learn as quickly as you learn it. Because sometimes what I'll do when I'm reading is a lot of the times what I do, like books like these or 48 Laws of Power or The Art of Seduction and The Art of War, part of what I do is I'll only read a chapter, and then start to try and implement all that into my life and then go back to it when I feel like I've implemented that into my life.
Yeah.
So that's the approach that I take. It takes forever to get through a book doing that, but it's like, also the thing is you don't need to read a book in its entirety. One of the things that I find very important is the information that's in the book that may be relevant to where you are at currently. Not, let's say 90% of this book doesn't relate to what you're doing and what you're trying to do and trying to get better at. But that one chapter is the one that you need to hear and you need to implement as soon as possible. So that's where you can kind of like skim through the glossary and skim through the book in the index to be able to actually understand what it's talking about. So you can then go to that, essentially go to that chapter that's actually going to benefit you in what you're trying to do.
And
so
if you're one of these AI nerds that have PDF files of books and stuff, just copy and paste the book over into ChatGPT and then have it summarize it to you. That's the thing you can do.
Yeah, that is a thing you could do.
I don't know if I'm going to advise people to do that because I am a fan of actually reading the fucking book for what it says. But if you're lazy, you don't like reading, you can now you can basically get cliff notes for any book, even if
pretty much free. Yeah,
just make your own cliff notes.
Yeah, no, exactly. So take the information as you will, and yeah. So
my buddy Roberto is asking, do you all save these live streams to watch later? Yeah, we do, Roberto. We save them on our YouTube process_delta, and then they're saved onto our Instagram pages, either my Instagram page or Aidan's Instagram page.
Exactly.
So you can find all of our live streams there, and then our podcast is on our YouTube as well.
Yep. Process_delta, baby. Join us on YouTube. Go check out everything that we got over there. And also check out our Instagrams. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or want us to cover a topic, we would be happy to do that. Just reach out, and we'd love to communicate with y'all. But yeah, this has been episode 8 of Broadcast Delta, Power of Knowledge, and we will see y'all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, everybody, 11 a.m.